Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ian Campbell with Alpha Capital Management Group. We are the 401k advisors on the 401k plan. In today's call, we're going to go over the enrollment meeting and go over the instructions on how to complete the online enrollment or filling out the paper enrollment form. The purposes of the call today is to go over the benefits of the 401k plan, as well as the highlights to enroll and the decisions that you'll be going through over the next couple days and completing the online enrollment or paper version. We were going to be sending Keith an email here shortly with all this information electronically that he can forward it on to you. So you will have a copy of all the documentation that we're going to be going through today to then enroll in the 401k plan. The first document we're going to be reviewing is the online enrollment packet. It really starts on the second page where it gets into where it says, let's get started. The first step is to go to the provider's website, which you can see here in the middle of the screen, yourplanaccess.net at Retirement Plan Consultants. Retirement Plan Consultants is the provider and the website that you'll be going to create a username and password, as well as register for that online account and make any future logins to, and also make any adjustments to your 401k account at any time in the future. The first process is to go to that website, and I've actually got it pulled up on my screen here, and I'll show it to you. That first website looks exactly like what you're seeing on the screen here. What you'll do for the first time is at the top left corner, click online enrollment. That'll flip the screen to type in a plan password. And back on that original sheet we were just looking at, the plan password that's going to be unique to the company is Stoke and then HOL in all capital letters. Make sure you are putting in the plan password in all capital letters. It is case sensitive. So after you've done that, you click next, and then you'll be followed through those prompts. Starting on page 9 of this document, it goes over the exact screenshots of that on-flow process of creating that online enrollment. I just showed you this first one and also the second one of putting in that plan password. The third is putting in contact information for yourself and then creating a username and password. About halfway through the enrollment, there'll be a section where you will complete an investment or select the source of money. Just make sure that you do select all sources of money before hitting next. Some of you will get hung up on this, but if you've got any questions, definitely refer back to this document here. It'll help you with that workflow. Again, all sources of money before you hit next on that. For the purposes of the call today, we did want to go and refer back to the paper version of the enrollment process because it's a little easier to articulate what types of decisions you're going to be making as you go through the online process. This paper form is also important, is in the event that you do not want to participate in the 401k plan, you would then fill out this form as a waiver. Complete the top section, and then you would select this first option, I elect not to contribute into the retirement plan at this time. If that does apply to you, you would complete that waiver and then return it to Keith, and he would keep it for his records to prove that he provided you a benefit to complete the form if you wanted to participate or not, and then you returned it with the answer of no. If you do say no, it's not a no forever. You can also enter the plan quarterly. So if you say no in January, you could hypothetically enroll and say yes in April, July, or October in this upcoming year or thereafter, every quarter thereafter. So it's not a no forever. For those who do want to participate in the plan, you've got a couple options, which is a pre-tax contribution or Roth after-tax contribution. The pre-tax contribution is that second one there. And a pre-tax and traditional contribution is probably what most people are familiar with, is you're going to put money in today that you have not paid taxes on, but then when you withdraw the money in retirement, that's when you would be paying the taxes at whatever tax bracket you are in retirement. The opposite happens with the Roth. The Roth account is you're putting in after-tax dollars or after-tax contributions. You're paying the tax on whatever your tax rate is today, and then when you withdraw the money in retirement, you've already paid those taxes, so Uncle Sam's not there to ask for the taxes again. So depending on your tax bracket of what you foresee it to be in the future or versus what you're at today, one may argue the case is that one may be better than the other. There's not really a perfect answer because we do not know, we cannot predict the future of what tax rates are going to be in 10 years, 20 years, 30, even 40 years from now. We don't know. So a rule of thumb is if you're looking to decrease your taxable income, then the pre-tax or traditional option would be the best. If you're in a lower tax bracket right now, you're younger, you want to pay the taxes now, then the Roth would be the better case for you. Whatever you decide on the pre-tax or Roth is not set in stone. You can always adjust it at any time in the future and go from one or the other. The next decision is going to be the how much, which is, I personally feel, the most important decision. The national average is 8%. So use that as kind of a watermark. 401k participants across the country, all age groups, are saving on average 8% of their income into their 401k plan. A lot of research and study has shown is that 10% is really that magic number or that goal for folks to get to. If you were to just go home and Google and say, how much should I be saving for my retirement plan? Then 10% is most likely what you're going to read, see, and hear on what would be a recommended path. I also would echo those comments as well. So in between 8 and 10 would be a great goal to be at or get to, but we understand that that might not be in the cards for you right now. What also is important that would initiate what your savings rate would be is the company match. If you are participating in the plan, you are eligible for that company match. And the company match is called a safe harbor match. And the way that works is an equation based off of what you put in. And I'm going to explain it in a couple different ways. The company match is 100% on the first 3% that you put in, and then 50% on the next 2% from 4 to 5. So another way to state it is if you put in 1, you would get 1%, 2 for 2, 3 for 3. If you put in 4%, the company match would be 3.5. If you put in 5, you would maximize that company match of 4%. So the maximum you would get is 4%. If you did put something greater than 5 in, you would still get that 4%. And another way to explain it is if you're going to have, say, hypothetically speaking, $1,000 paycheck, gross paycheck, that's what you make, $1,000 bucks. If you're going to save 5% in a pre-tax contribution, that's $50. So $50 is going to go into your 401k account for that employee contribution. The company match is 4% if you save 5, and that's $40. So you've got 50 from you, 40 from the company going into the 401k account for a total of 90. With that pre-tax 5% contribution of $50, your net take-home pay is not going to go down by that full 50 bucks. It's most likely only going to go down by around $30. So to have a $30 decrease in your net take-home pay, but a $90 benefit going into your 401k account, that's a great example of how powerful it is to save in a retirement account and get a big benefit going into it, but it not affecting your take-home pay all that much. So be mindful. We'd like you to go and save to that 8 to 10% level, but at least a recommended path would be to at least save 5% so you can get that company match of 4%. With that being said, we're going to hop over to the investment piece. Again, as I mentioned, with the pre-tax and the Roth, you can adjust that at any time. The company match the company match is always going to go into a pre-tax bucket because the company is not paying the government's taxes on your behalf. So if you were to save in a Roth or save in a pre-tax, the company match of that $40 in that example is always going to go into a pre-tax bucket. Whether you've got 50 bucks of your own money going into a pre-tax or 50 going into a Roth, the company match is always going to go into a pre-tax bucket. I'm going to hop to the last question that you'll be faced with is the investment choices. All of these on the second page are all institutional grade mutual funds. And what that means to you is they're all low cost investment choices or the lowest cost available to investors. They're also all top performers. All of these individual investments are in their top quartile or the top 25% in their respective asset classes. Part of Mark and I's role and responsibility on the 401k plan as advisors is to make sure this investment menu is as great as it possibly can be for you today, but also in every quarter thereafter. We're scrutinizing these funds to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and they're at the top quartile. So as we evaluate these from quarter to quarter, if there is a fund that does not meet certain criteria for consecutive quarters, we will pull that fund out and replace it with a like-kind fund, there in turn improving the lineup. So we're always adjusting this over time. Normally we see maybe 1 or 2 changes a year, and that happens automatically. You'll be notified of that. If you've got money in an account that does change over to a new one, it automatically gets sold that one fund and then bought that next morning in the next one, and there's nothing that you would have to do. But telling you that you've got great investment choices and low-cost options to pick from doesn't ultimately help with that decision. So part of our ongoing advice and education to you as participants is we put together a quarterly asset allocation guide. We will update this every quarter, and it'll be sent out to the owner and then passed along to you, along with other information like newsletter and other savings help. This asset allocation guide will help you with the investment decision today, but also quarters to come. All these investment choices that you see are all listed on that left-hand column. Their asset class that they represent is in that second column. Ticker symbol is in that third. And then this top larger rectangle is going to be more of a hands-on approach. So you can pick from one of these columns based off of your risk tolerance and what you would feel would be most appropriate for you based off of your age, time frame left until retirement, and so on. From an education standpoint, we tend to see people that are in their 20s and 30s will tend to be more aggressive. In their 40s and 50s will tend to be more in that moderate aggressive column. And then in their 50s and 60s, we tend to see people in that moderate 50-50 column. So depending on your age, one of those would be most likely more appropriate for you. And the ask of the individual is, if you're going to go and use this hands-on method, is that as we come out with this guide every quarter, is that you log in online, check the account that you have and the percentages that you have in that, and make sure it lines up with the recommended columns. So the ask is to log in once or twice a year, check these against what you have, and make any adjustments. As an example, if we change this 12% on this one fund to 15%, we'd want you to change it as well. Or if we change these allocations from this one fund and we moved them up to this other one, we would want you to make that adjustment as well. It normally would take about 2 to 3 minutes online to get that taken care of. So this is the hands-on approach with some assistance from Mark and I and our team. The other option would be to select a target date fund. And the target date funds are a great autopilot cruise control type mentality, is where you would find out what year it will be when you reach age 65. And based off of that year, it's going to plop you into one of these target date funds. And then that would be your most appropriate target date fund, whichever the range that you fall into. And you would go 100% into that one investment. And the way these investments work is they start out aggressive for those younger individuals, and then every 5 years they de-risk over time. So the ones I've highlighted in blue are going to be very similar to that aggressive column up top and the right, and they're going to be 90 to 80% equities. The next four are going to be more aligned with that second one from the right, the moderate aggressive column, 60% in equities and stocks, 40% in fixed income or bonds, or 70-30, 65-35 mix. And then as you get near retirement or that closer to that given year or the present year, it's going to be similar to that moderate column or that 50-50 blend. So again, they start out with 90% in equities. Every 5 years, they automatically de-risk, taking a little less risk, ultimately becoming about a 50-50 portfolio in retirement. We've talked about two scenarios, one that's a little bit more hands-on, one that's a little bit more hands-off. The third is you're free to choose whatever combination, whatever percentage of those investment choices, whatever you would like. In addition to that, there's no cost of changing or going in and out of or making any trades or adjustments to any of these mutual funds. There are no trading costs, so you can change it every single day if you would like. There's nothing set in stone with that. Both Mark and I's contact information is on the bottom of this form, so if you needed to reach out to Mark or I, our contact information is there, and our email as well. And it will also be in the body of the email that you'll get from Keith. I'm going to hop back to the paper enrollment form. Starting on the third page is the beneficiary designation form. You will be able to complete this information online. So if you are completing that, you can just put that information in there. Beneficiaries are very important. In the event that you pass away, the monies that you've accumulated in the account go to whom you wish. So please make sure you've got that up to date. It helps out with the company and also anybody that's handling your estate afterwards. The beneficiary example that I would want to share with you is husband and wife and 2 children. The spouse would be listed as primary beneficiary at 100%. The 2 children would be 50% contingent beneficiaries each. There is a note on the bottom of this form that's called a spousal consent. It says, note, spousal consent. If you intend to skip your spouse as primary beneficiary or do not name them as primary beneficiary at 100%, therefore they're not first in line, they have to acknowledge that, as well as a witness notary needs to be present and also sign as well. If that does apply, you have to sign and complete the paper version. If that does not apply, then you can just complete the online one, with naming your spouse or children and so on. The last and final thing that we'll cover today is the plan account rollover form. In the event that you've got an old IRA or an old 401k account with a past company or another custodian, you can convert or roll over those monies into the 401k plan here and consolidate that. And the same goes on the outbound. So if you're no longer working for the company and a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever time, the amount of money that you've saved in the 401k account can roll out to your account of your choice. So rolling in and rolling out is a form of this process here in this form. There's a dedicated team at Retirement Plan Consultants that can help with that rollover. And of course, Mark and I are here to also help and discuss that if that does apply. So if you have any questions on that, feel free to reach out to us. As mentioned before, we are your advisors. You've got two of us, both myself, Ian Campbell, and Mark L. We're available to you if you have any questions. Our contact information will be in the emails and any of this other upcoming documentation. Feel free to reach out to us. Hope everybody has a great day, and we look forward to working with each one of you.